This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by the NMFTA. Let me ask you a question. Do you ship LTL freight? Then listen up, because the NMFC changes went live on July 19th, and they're the biggest updates in the history of freight classification. Now more than ever, accuracy matters. That's why carriers, shippers, and brokers alike are turning to Class IT Plus, the NMFTA's new digital platform for real-time NMFC data. Stop guessing, start classifying smarter, and quote freight with confidence. It's time to get your ship together because the NMFC changes are already here. Learn more at nmfcchanges.com and get started with Class IT Plus at classitplus.com. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. I got a very special solo show today. And yeah, we're going to break down some industry headlines here. We're going to start off with doing a little bit of tactical insight into how to, operate in a tight market out here, or a changing market, we can call it. But yeah, you guys, let me see here. The links to all the articles we're going to be breaking down today will be uploaded into the show notes, because as always, you guys, I want you to do your own research on a lot of this stuff. And then, yeah, one quick reminder, yesterday, Wednesday, that is when the Freight Coach newsletter drops. It's a once a week thing. I don't auto sign you up. You probably noticed that if you've given me your business card and you've never signed up for it, because I don't auto sign up anybody to get my content. I want you guys to want to receive all of this stuff. So if you want to get it, I need you to go to thefreightcoach.com. It'll auto prompt you to register on it, and we will it'll just come once a week. All right. It's just all freight related out there. Corey Buchan, happy Thursday to you as well, my man. He's watching over on YouTube. And again, if you guys are YouTube is the best streaming platform that is out there. So if you're listening to this on the audio only replay later on, we go live on YouTube. All right. And I would go on there and watch the live stream if you guys want. I've been told from numerous people that it is the best streaming platform for the live show. And I've just heard that there's been some issues on some of the other platforms on like notifications on the show. So if you do go on YouTube and you want to check it out, just hit that bell notification up there. But let's jump in. So next week on the show, we are going to be doing some a little bit of a different of like a market analysis, right? Because we're going to be looking at like the heat maps and everything, and kind of like how to really read the market that you're going into. And I look at it from this perspective. We have been breaking down lanes on this show in particular, but for me, I like to look at things a little bit differently at times. I like to look like going into the inbound market, the outbound market. And so we're going to be doing like heat map analysis next week on the show. So yeah, man, we're going to be breaking all of that down. And, again, like as all of this content, you guys, it's from my perspective, I'm just trying to give you guys some insight onto how I personally operate as a broker and how I have operated as a broker throughout my career, because like nothing what we're seeing right now is an anomaly, right? Like I've seen numerous tight markets. I've seen numerous rate spikes, fuel spike, all of that stuff. And there's just some strategies that I've constantly applied throughout the entirety of my career. And I just want to help you guys out through that, because I can't personally service every single shipper in North America, but I am of the mindset that the only way to really truly combat a lot of the unethical behaviors, we can call it, from the industry is by putting the right information out there to raise the standards of the industry. Because I look at a lot of this stuff, and we'll get into some of these articles here. It's a big standards issue. And when it boils down to it, no matter what, we can blame other people all we want, but like the entire industry has allowed a lot of this stuff to go on for a while now. And I'm just going to continue to focus on putting out the right information to help people navigate through these times. Because if you've never seen a market shift before, it's a good time. And we are going to, and it's a good time to really like double down on your skills, because these are things that no matter what are applicable out there. Because my personal mindset is I don't change the way I operate regardless of the market, right? Like I don't communicate with my customers any more or any less if I'm making $1 billion on a load or losing $1 billion on a load. I operate the exact same way every single time, because it's a lot easier to do it that way, right? Instead of having, like, I call it a selective give a fuck lever, where some people only like to care when they're making money on this stuff. And I like to go out there and attack it the exact same way every single time. Because, in business, you guys, and one thing I've learned over my career, and, especially being self-employed here is there's going to be days where you're going to be on cloud nine and everything's going to be going right. And then there's going to be days like you just have a raining shitstorm over your head and you're just trying to fight through it. So I look at it it's a lot easier to operate the exact same way every single time. And so it's a lot easier to train people as well when you bring in individuals onto your team. And we just operate the same. We do the same every single time. And I just want to bring consistency to my customers and my carriers, right? Like I want a consistent experience. And if we mess up, we want to rectify that. We want to do right, and we got to move forward. So that's just kind of my way of really going about this stuff, because the market is the market, right? Like the free market is a very beautiful thing. And like I've mentioned a lot here recently, I see a lot of selective capitalists out there. I really do. I see a lot of people who only think they deserve to make money all the time, and everybody should bend to their beck and call. But the free market is a beautiful thing. Capitalism is a beautiful thing. And this opportunity that is in front of, like, the way that the market is continuing to perform right now, when I started my brokerage back up from scratch here, I thought that this was going to happen in 2024. So it's like, I want this to continue to happen. I want tight capacity. I want things to change, because otherwise, like, people will never have a need to look outside of their current network unless their service gets disrupted, right? And when we've had excess capacity, and I would still argue there is excess capacity out there in the market, because we're not sitting at a time when like freight's sitting on docks for 3 or 4 days because there is literally no trucks to go pick it up, and it doesn't matter the rate and stuff like that, right? So from my perspective, it's one of those situations where it's like, this is the opportunity that a lot of us, if you're out there prospecting, this is the opportunity that we need. And I look at it, from my perspective, where it's like, this is the time to really double down on things. And if you have customers that you're working with right now, have those open and honest conversations with them. And depending how they tender overloads, I look at it this is, sorry, I actually broker freight. I'm fucking working with my team right now. But we, like having that open dialogue with them. Like if I had customers where it was all truck in hand, spot market style pricing, I would be talking to them almost on a weekly basis. Now, I've seen a lot of stability out there in the market. Yes, the rates are higher and things might look a little bit different, but I think that initial wave of increase in fuel prices that we saw is gone, and it's stabilized out there. And again, that's what we're looking for, right? So bring that information to your customer and go out there and try your best to find those solutions, because that's all they need, right? customers need solutions. They need and that's why they hire us. So I look at it as this is the opportunity that a lot of the sellers out there who've been cold calling for the last 3 years and haven't really gotten any traction with any of their prospects. I personally have had more progress with prospects this month in April alone than probably the last 6 months combined. Like, I've had a lot more people who are willing to answer. Now, it's not everybody, right? So I'll tether your expectations. You're not just going to call. I hope you guys make a call and fall into a gold mine and everything works out for you. But again, like, this is that positioning time where when you're because they haven't had to answer the phone, and now when they are, and you get that person on your prospects on the phone, have those facts ready to go. Why, who are you, what you do, why you're reaching out to them, know a little bit about their business. And, if you're niche like me, be a subject matter expert, or I'm attempting to be a subject matter expert as I'm going out there. But, I look at it as this is the opportunities that a lot of people have been looking for. And the sooner we can get down to that time where we're out there, where we're getting in front of our prospects, we're making things happen, the better off we're going to be. So that's my little bit of you can call it a rant if you want, but I look at it is anytime that there's changes in the market, this is the opportunity that a lot of us are looking for. And especially when rates increase and capacity starts to tighten up in certain areas, that's the window that a lot of us sellers who are out there calling every single day, that, from our perspective is, this is the opportunity that we need. And this is how we set ourselves up for success long-term in the freight market. So from that's the way I guess that's a little bit of my rant here, you guys, on it. I just want you guys to be set up for success. All right. Because there's some serious opportunities that are coming our way, and you just got to be in the right position. You got to start putting that information in front of your guys' customers and be prepared, right? Pick up the phone, get out there, get in front of them. There's a lot of freight out there. There's a lot of opportunities out there. So that's my little rant. Let's read some articles and start talking some shit and having some fun. As always, you guys, the links to all the articles are uploaded into the show notes. And again, you guys, let's do some research out there. First article, ttnews.com. Strategic cargo theft, the forensic my bad. Strategic cargo theft keeps evolving to evade vetting. I wanted to sound a lot cooler than I actually am. Strategic cargo theft is growing not only in the scope, but in the complexity as criminals continuously adjust their tactics and devise schemes that are harder for motor carriers, freight brokers, and shippers to detect and prevent. They were talking about this at the TIA Capital Ideas Conference here in Phoenix last week, and Scott Cornell for Chief Risk Insurance for SPG Cargo and Logistics said, we've always seen the bad guys adjust to what the industry does in prevention. One emerging method involves an organized crew getting one of its members hired as a driver at a legitimate carrier to circumvent industry vetting processes which typically focus on the qualifications and reputations of the motor carrier rather than the individual driver. From there, the thief drives for that carrier until assigned a valuable load that the crew wants to steal. And then when the opportunity arises, the thief parks somewhere, goes into a truck stop or visit friends or family when the crew members physically steal that cargo. They make people believe that there was no deception involved here, that the driver just left the load unattended when they physically stole it. Everybody leaves it thinking it's strategic theft when in essence it's actually strategic theft. And I've talked about this on the show a lot, right? Like there's an evolution that's happened, and I've talked about this on some panels as well. And this is what they're describing here is at times they, again, it's a lot more organized where they're planting drivers at some of these, legitimate trucking companies that are hauling, and then again, they might be sitting there hauling these valuable loads for a little bit and everything's going off without a hitch. And then boom, it is one of these situations like that. And, when you're looking at the carrier alone on paper, they might be performing at a high level, but again, what are they doing to vet their drivers? And, we'll talk about this a little bit further in the show, but, that there's ways to really start going to, to start combating a lot of this stuff. And Connor Heldenbrand, vice president of security at JB Hunt, said he's seen at least one instance of this cargo theft tactic in the past year, which involved a new driver at a reputable carrier. They ran one load for this customer and it went fine. The very next load they picked up, they drove to a truck stop a few miles away, dropped it off, and went to watch wrestling in Mexico for the weekend. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. One way, and then again, like that's essentially what we're describing right there, right? They get that intel, and then they are out there. They're able to gain access to that freight. And I also look at it from this perspective. I think as complex as people are getting in their strategies and tactics right now, I want individuals to be aware, like, do not overlook the simplicity that some of these guys may take, i.e. cash, once they know where the facility is, an envelope of cash, on what that does to a dock worker to get some information where they can go and follow those trucks around. I think that the strategies, although are evolving, they are also somewhat staying the same. And pay attention to everything, right? So it's like, I also want to talk about this where, I look at it as my friends at the NMFTA, you guys, they have Freight Fraud Prevention Hub. I just personally got involved in that as well, because there's a lot of strategies and tactics that I personally apply inside of my business where, again, I'm never going to claim eliminates anything. I think it's a very bold claim, but like, I put best practices out there. I don't talk about it publicly anymore because I don't want to give away anything to anybody who's potentially watching this show. But a lot of the tried and true methods that I personally use, you guys, are very simple in nature. And it's the entire strategy behind it is if you can't answer these questions, I don't want you near my customer's freight, because it's very basic stuff that's out there. But, I look at it as the Freight Fraud Prevention Hub is a great tool for you guys. You guys should sign up for that. The NMFTA puts a lot of great stuff out there. And again, they also have their annual cybersecurity conference, you guys, because this is very much a cyber angle as well with this strategic theft and where things are going. And you need to look at the digital infrastructure of your company. So that's conferences late September. It's in Long Beach. And I would personally highly advise everybody go to something like this. Like, you need to get out there, you need to look at how do you build that protection layer around your company and your customers' freight. And, again, you guys, don't lose sight of the basic strategies that you can apply to your business that's going to help minimize a lot of this stuff. But, there are different, things where, I look at it is, we personally use trucker tools inside of our company to track all of our loads, outside of some other things that we utilize. But again, like, they have some great alert factors inside of there as well that show, like, hey, is this a burner phone, stuff like that. You got to start utilizing this stuff, you guys, because we're at a different day and age right now in things. And this that article, you guys, it was from ttnews.com talking about strategic cargo theft. Check that one out. And so I pulled this other article. This one came out the other day. But I wanted to bring this up, not to talk about the providers involved, because it's been very well documented, you guys, between it's been very well documented out there between the super ego carrier that's out there. And this article is from overdriveonline.com. And it's, C.H. Robinson and Super Ego chalk up the chameleon carrier outage to outrage to a big misunderstanding. And I want you guys to, and when it comes down to chameleon carriers, cargo theft, and everything else in regards to the previous article here, a lot of what I've been reading here in particular is, it could happen to a lot of us, right? And with where we're at in the industry, when it comes down to a lot of our vetting practices, I think no matter what, you need to look at this as, let this be a warning to your operations on how are you vetting your carriers, okay? How are you looking? Are you one and done with your carriers, like you set them up and then you don't do any follow-up checks and everything else, and maybe you don't have any carrier monitoring. I'm not going to get into what I know there's a lot of people who have opinions out there about, like, the failures and everything else of some of these companies that allowed this stuff to happen. I'm thinking, like, with this article from Overdrive Online, you got to take this and you got to look at your own personal operation here. What can you do better? Because I think, and I interview a lot of people here, you guys. I talk to a lot of people off record as well, and I'm not going to out any of my sources on any of this stuff, but there's a growing thing on the insurance side of things when it comes down to shippers, okay? Like manufacturers and stuff, that some of these companies might not be able to insure their products anymore due to the high volume of theft for some of their products. And so it's like, if we're looking ahead, right? If you're not vetting your providers at a high level, customers and carriers alike as a broker, and you're not doing continuous vetting on them, you could be potentially holding the bag here for a lot of money. And, I look at with, again, a lot of people want to give C.H. Robinson a black eye for what happened here. But I have a lot of credible information that there's a lot more people who are in this exact same situation right now with this exact carrier. I look at it as no matter what, we need to look at our operations and how we are vetting our providers. And we have to look at it is how are we going to protect our customers' freight? Because if it comes to that point where it's like, if we're looking a couple of steps ahead where, hey, the carrier, like the shippers can't even insure their product anymore, and then something happens and maybe you're not aware of that, and then a load gets stolen, it's on you at that point, right? Or maybe there's a clause in their contract that puts all the liability onto the broker, and like, we're at a very interesting time where your processes and procedures need to 100% be like airtight. They really do, you guys. Unfortunately, it's kind of at a point in time, like I've been talking about with drivers. Everybody's guilty until proven innocent, and the faster you can prove that you did everything in your power to protect your organization from a lot of this stuff happening, I just look at it as the buck stops with the business owner, right? Like, no matter what. And I know a lot of people love to just rip on C.H. Robinson for everything that's going on right now. But what they're fighting on the Supreme Court, if that doesn't come through and there isn't some language cleanup in regards to liability on carrier selection and everything else that goes on, that could potentially bankrupt a lot of companies, because most small businesses couldn't even afford to litigate this, right? Like, I know what my attorney charges me for basic shit. I mean, if this was as complex of a case as what some of these are that are going on out there, that really changes things a lot. And it would bankrupt a lot of businesses, right? Carriers, legitimate carriers, brokers alike, it would bankrupt them. And then, depending on how your business is structured, business owners, i.e., you could lose your home, you could lose your vehicle, you could lose everything, right? So I think we got to take this window to focus in on our processes and procedures and how we're selecting our providers. And then how are you going to use this as an opportunity to go in there and sell to your customers? Because, at the end of the day, this is going to not go away. And some people are big enough where they can chalk it up to the game and, whatever stolen freight, lost freight doesn't affect them. They're not the ones signing the check, so they don't care. But I look at it is if the broker, or like if customers go direct to carriers now, I think a lot of manufacturers are probably following these breadcrumbs with that liability case on the Supreme Court, because if that changes anything, and then there's any shippers that go direct to a carrier and that carrier double brokers a load or hires a shady driver, like, you never know, that's going to be a very big problem for them as well. So I think that no matter what your carrier selection strategy, your internal operations, what you are saying to some of these carriers is I would be looking at that process a lot right now as we're in the waiting in the wind here for the Supreme Court decision to come down. But again, let this be a lesson for a lot of people in the industry that it's only a matter of time before it comes to your doorstep. And if your stuff's not in line, I mean, let this just be that warning, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's going on right now that could change the landscape of the broker industry and the industry as a whole. And, and to kind of piggyback on that CBS article like I watched that video a few times. I was shocked at how biased that was. And after doing some more below the headline research on it, that was a paid smear campaign against the freight broker community. Straight up, you can find it. Just go out there and look. You can find it was a paid smear campaign against freight brokers. That clip alone, where they were interviewing that Robinson employee at a trade show, was some of the worst editing I've ever seen. Like, I am an amateur editor of video and audio. I taught myself how to do all of this stuff. I picked up the split where they took two separate clips and combined it into one. Come on, CBS. You guys got to be better at hiding it than that, right? If my barely trained eyes can look at that and pick that up, and I know a lot of people glossed over that, but that answer was spliced into one. It was two separate questions, probably from two separate conversations that were going on, and they spliced that shit together. It's very, very easy to pick up if you've ever edited any piece of content, where like with me early on, I had to edit out a lot of stuff because I just, I just leave it in there now, but like I'd lose my train of thought in the middle of some of the interviews. So we'd have to splice some of the stuff up behind the scenes to make it not sound like a giant clusterfuck when I was talking. But I saw that. And then again, it's just a paid smear campaign is all it was. And, there's some responsibilities. And I already put my opinion out there the other day on the show. I have all the original recordings, so don't think you can chop up what I said to do anything. That's not going to be possible. But that's why I hate mainstream media. That article, like that news, that video, that is why I hate mainstream media right there. That is some of the worst reporting I have ever seen in my life. And that's not just on the industry. I'm talking on almost everything that I've heard. And obviously, I have a very intimate relationship with this industry. I have a very deep understanding of this industry. And it was appalling to watch that. Again, I feel for everybody who loses their life, all right, on the road. I truly, truly do. But the way that video made all brokers look is atrocious. And it is some of the worst things I've ever seen out there. But anyways, you guys can find all that stuff out there. Go to the CBS thing. And again, as we're summarizing this episode, truly look at your processes, truly look at your procedures, make sure your shit's airtight, because depending on how some of this stuff unfolds here in the coming weeks or months, you guys, this could drastically affect your business and put a high level of exposure to your business that you aren't even aware of, that you're overlooking right now. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. If you're feeling ambitious, rank that show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas.